Talk about the future of transportation in Winnipeg and in Canada. And of course, this is shaping up to be a serious election issue. As some of you may have heard, there's an election planned for October 27th. So as it turns out, we've got a few politicians on the panel, as you've heard. And so I think that we're looking forward to hearing their thoughts about the direction that we should be going in the city. And speaking of politicians, I think it's very critical to point out that the Green Party of Manitoba, our hosts, did in fact invite Mayor Sam Cates to attend this conversation and didn't respond to the invitation. So,
first of all, thank you for organizing this, Green Party, and everyone else involved, and for including me on this panel. And it's an honor to be sitting beside old friends of me who we have come across. Our paths have crossed many, many ways in different forums over the years, and she has always been like a bit of an alarm clock for me in my politics at the federal level. You know, it's an alarm clock. You hate when it goes off, but you're always grateful when it does. Strongly and persistently on sustainability, especially now at this time of this municipal election here in Winnipeg. And the reason I am running for mayor, it's the same way Louise May just put it. It's about wanting the city to capture the vision that Winnipeggers have. A vision for a green economy right here in our own city. A vision about being a better kind of place where, in fact, we take our responsibilities in terms of the future of this planet more seriously. And I'm sure you're like me, embarrassed at the fact that Winnipeg is lagging most cities when it comes to environmental practices, sustainability measures, and a green economy. We are an embarrassment across the city in many ways. Elizabeth mentioned the Our Winnipeg plan. Do you know that we still do not have a transportation plan? And Louise mentioned it. Louise mentioned the Our Winnipeg plan. But we're still waiting. Yes, we have a plan out for our Winnipeg 2025, and there are lots of problems in terms of development. But there still is no transportation plan, and there still is no green plan. They're still at the drawing board, and here we are in the middle of an election, and no clear indication from the present administration about how he and his fellow councillors intend to actually move this agenda forward. That's why this election is so important and this debate is so critical. I'm running because I want to see a better Winnipeg that focuses on a green economy, but I also know, and this is something that Elizabeth and I have talked about in the past, the role of the city in terms of dealing with the changes in the global economy and the need to find a way to start doing what we can at the local level in order to deal with the absolute lack of responsiveness of global entities and the need for that kind of what's the word? Speak, act locally, think globally. Well, we got to speak, act locally, speak, act locally. And I just wanted to, I know my time's going to run out, but I have to read you this one passage that has kept me going. It's from The New City by John Lord. And I think it says it all in terms of transportation in the city. The relentless upward push of energy prices should be telling us that we've reached a turning point in our urban history. Canadians now need to rethink many of the most basic assumptions about urban living and plan our cities so they become more compact, less wasteful, and thus sustainable in their growth patterns. In fact, contemporary history shows that periods of drastic environmental deterioration have triggered far-reaching reforms in the way cities organize themselves and conceive of their futures. The intolerable air pollution, filth, and disease that characterized 19th century industrial cities unleashed revolutions in thinking about urban planning, public health, technology, and social reform. At the dawn of the 21st century, Canada's urban environmental crisis deteriorating air quality, the localized symptoms of warming, and the overconsumption of energy. The inhabitants of Canada's large cities, like Winnipeg, must respond imaginatively and proactively, or resign ourselves to the fact that our urban environments will soon cease to be livable places. That's the challenge facing Winnipeg right now in this election, and why your vote matters so much on October 27th. Nowhere is that more important than when it comes to transportation. Paul has touched on some of this, but the history, and so did Robert, the history of rapid transit. Can you imagine what the city would be like if, in fact, Steve Juba's dream of having a subway system in 1958 had become a reality? What kind of a city would we have today if, in fact, we had moved back then when it was so imperative? And here we are, Winnipeg in the year 2010, and we don't even have half of one corridor of a rapid transit system built in this city. And we've got a mayor saying we're going to take the money that's set aside for rapid transit, 180 million from the other two levels of government, and we want you to put that in roads. Because we've done a terrible job in terms of our infrastructure and planning. And instead, we're going to go to the federal government and ask for money through the P3 fund in order to pay for rapid transit down the road. And by the way, we want to make it light rail because, in fact, we don't want to actually finish what we started, which is a BRT system, and which actually can prove to be effective. My position is this. There's so much to talk about. I mean, I want to talk about bike paths, and I want to talk about making sure we've got a lens in terms of all future development so that we're not always running to catch up building bike paths after the fact. I want to make sure that we've got a lens in terms of accessibility for people with disabilities so that they can move around in livable communities. But most of all, I want to see in this election a commitment from the people of Winnipeg to back me as mayor to finish what we started, to finish this one corridor as a bus rapid transit roadway. Because in fact, when people see that it works, they will then support rapid transit in the future. And when we've got one up and running, we can look at light rail, we can look at electrical rail, we can look at streetcars, we can look at hovering cars. Whatever the latest technology is and allows us to do. But the fact of the matter is, if we don't finish what we started, we may end up with no rapid transit at all.
I would just make two comments. One is back to the issue of fares and whether or not people can afford the fares that are now set and how it happens that we have these levels. The first thing I would say is we return the responsibility for setting fares for transit to City Hall. It's been offloaded and outsourced away from direct accountability, and I think in fact there needs to be some measure of accountability when it comes to fare setting. Secondly, there are creative ways that we can. You've raised one. There are other suggestions people have made about how we can improve ridership, how we can make it possible for families who are low income to go and use it, go and take on excursions. A couple of other ideas. I don't know if but a couple of other ideas are that we actually make it possible for anyone on fixed income to ride the bus free of charge in non-peak hours. That's one option, and I think that's certainly feasible, and to try to increase ridership makes some sense. And secondly, a suggestion made to me the other day, instead of having this transfer system, good for how long is the transfer good for? Have it good for from 9:30 to 3:30. Have it good for a whole day in off-peak hours. As one way to encourage and make it more feasible for some folks. But good suggestion. We should look at all options. get off their cars and go on the bus. Not, like Sam says, you've got to create light rail in order to get people off their cars. If we do that, we're going to skip the whole infrastructure of the city in terms of how we move people around. So I really believe we've got to focus on good public policy when it comes to the design of rapid transit, the regular service on a daily basis, the 24-hour service that Robert and others have talked about, and the flexibility in the fee system, so that's that. Low-income people and people, seniors and veterans and people with big numbers in their families are able to access the system on a cost-effective basis. Being part of this panel, I've learned a lot from the experts, and it's given me a lot of food for thought and ideas for the election campaign. What I want to leave you all with is one day, October 27th, a day when you can make a real difference in terms of directions at City Hall. And you will know from previous elections our voter turnout is pretty darn low. Last one was 38%. A little more than 1 in 3 people voted for their representatives at City Hall, and we're paying the price now. And we have a chance to make a difference. And I think you need to make sure your voices are heard in the next month and a half. There will be opportunities for debate. There will be a couple of televised debates with the mayor and myself and the other 4 candidates. There will be many community dialogues, and you need to be there raising the issues about the green economy, about sustainability and active transportation, or we will not be able to get the different views aired and debate happen and decisions made on that basis. So whatever you do, be involved, make a difference, speak as loud and as hard as you can, get the green agenda put back onto